Dave Birkett here from the Detroit Free Press, along with John Reid from the Florida Times Union, Jacksonville.com for him, Freep.com for me, and hopefully on all the USA Today network sites. John, hey man, we are at this again, and the teams we cover are picking in the top 5 again. It seems like this is an annual occurrence for us, I guess, right? We're always these mock drafts that we do across the network. We're always starting them off in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we always get to start them off, Don.
I know, but last year, right, it was easy. Trevor Lawrence was going number 1. Everyone knew that to Jacksonville. I mean, even the last couple of years, right? Kyler was a sure thing in 2019. Everyone knew Joe Burrow in 2020. This year, I think there's a lot of mystery up top, maybe a little bit with Jacksonville, right? I mean, we've heard the Trayvon Walker rumors, Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, a lot with Detroit. I don't, frankly, I have no clue what the Lions are doing it too. But so that's why we're going to talk about this here real quick for a little bit. And let's start with that number 1 pick. I don't know. What do you, is there a lot of smoke going on? How comfortable do you feel that what the Jaguars are going to do right now?
Well, I mean, in this situation like this, it's, as you just said, it's not, I mean, there's no generational talent sitting there at the top. So, I mean, you can only go with what your hunch is saying. And as you said, there's been Trayvon Walker, there's been Evan Neal. I mean, you can go on down the list as those top 3 or 4 guys that could be linked to the Jaguars. But, man, I cover a franchise that just they can't have any more black eyes. They can't have any, bad vibes coming 4 or 5 months, or even, it's a new culture, new coach, new everything, and they want to get it right. So my hunch is at this point, I felt earlier that they would go and target, try to rectify the offensive line. The greatest thing for the Jaguars is you got to protect Trevor Lawrence. But defensively, it's been a problem here also. And when you look at Aiden Hutchinson, is he going to be the next J.J. Watt? There's questions about that. But he's the highest graded prospect in this draft. And if you look at the Jaguars' history, they don't need any more bad histories.
Right.
So you go with the safest guy. And I feel at this point, a week before the draft, even though speculation and all that thing to go with this at this point, I think that I still would say that they would draft Aiden Hutchinson, just the fact that he's a safe pick. And you look at the numbers last year, 32 sacks. I mean, they were in the bottom half in quarterback pressures.
Yeah.
And if you really look at it over the last 5 years, even though it's been a bad history, most of these Jaguars teams in the past has been defined more so about their defensive front and getting the pass rush pressure on the quarterback. So with Doug Peterson, obviously, I think the NFL is so different now that even from 2017, it's a different league, that you have to put the priority in scoring and getting those things. But this is a franchise that has so many different holes to fill, and they're not going to get it all fixed in one off season. But at least you have something in the start, and you pair Hutchinson with Josh Allen. I mean, I think that could be a potent combination for a start for a new coach like Peterson.
I think, you raised a lot of good points there and I'm with you in a lot of ways that early on, right, I thought offensive tackle. I mean, it just seemed like you protect Trevor Lawrence, right? You've invested so much in him. You want to make sure that he's right to make the franchise right. And then the Jaguars go ahead and franchise, Cam Robinson. And maybe it seems like the momentum was shifting towards Aiden Hutchinson. And I'll tell you this, I've said this before that, I went to Michigan's pro day. I was doing a little something on Aiden Hutchinson and was hanging out in sort of a scout parking lot ahead of the pro day and ran into somebody I knew. And he asked what I was doing there. I said, I'm doing a piece on Hutchinson. He said, he's not making it to you, as in he's not making it to the Lions at 2. And I was like, wow, maybe he's really not. And I think the feeling in the NFL was sort of the same thing. What you vocalized there was that, he's a safe player and everyone likes him and he's going to be a good player. We don't know how good, we don't know that he's going to be great, but he's going to be a good player. And he can be that sort of, culture, changer, culture force guy in the locker room. That's something that the Lions have really stressed. And I think if the Jaguars pass on Hutchinson, I think the Lions, I think that's a pick that fits their wants and needs too. But I don't know. So for all the viewers out there, we're sort of in the middle of doing our network mock draft, USA Today network right now. And John made the first pick and I made the second pick. And, I don't know that we'll, spoil the whole draft for next week, but I mean, it was one of the, I don't know, how much did you debate between Hutchinson and Evan Neal or whatever offensive tackle is in the mix and Kayvon Walker? Because I'm sorry, not Kayvon Walker, Trayvon Walker, not Kayvon Thibodeau, kind of combining those two there as you made that prediction.
Well, I did 2 mock drafts, and I was essentially convinced that when I went to the NFL Combine, and just we had conversations, interviews with Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson. I mean, I was convinced that at that point that they were going with an offensive lineman, you know. And speaking to, hearing what Evan Neal, they had a good, interview. I think Evan Neal was the first person that I know that doesn't mean a whole lot, but he was the first person they interviewed in Indianapolis. And he said that those conversations went pretty well. So I was thinking, and I feel that Cam Robinson, I mean, they like Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that I don't know if Cam Robinson likes the Jaguars as much as they like him. And this is the second year that they've done put the franchise tag on him, and he can't go into free agency. It took him a
and it's a risk if they don't sign him, right? I mean, if you only have him for 1 year, it's a risk. You do have to protect Trevor. So
yeah, and it's like you gotta wait. And I just feel that I don't know. I was a little surprised that he did eventually sign that tender about 10 days ago. But you're right, and I'm hearing that they feel confident that they can sign him to an extension.
Okay.
But as I said earlier, the Trent Baalke is not a popular person in Jacksonville. From the coach hiring to all the Urban Meyer situation from last season.
Yeah.
He's not popular, and I think that he won't. He's got a job, and he's been invested by Shad Khan, the owner, to help with the restructure of this organization with Doug Peterson. And I just feel that they can't take any risk. His job is on the line. You can't come back here next year and that first round pick don't work out. I feel that everything is riding on them getting this right, getting the right pick. And I feel with so much pressure to just do it the right way, make the right decision. Don't have any, any hindsight that you should have did this or you should have did that. And I just feel at this point, with a week to go before the draft, that they done talked about it, they done discussed it, they done brought in players, and I just feel that when it comes to the decision making, which I feel has already been made at this point, that the safest way to go is let's get Hutchinson.
And again, I think that's why the Lions would go with Hutch if he was there at 2-2, right? Fills a position of need, safe player, sort of meshes with what Dan Campbell wants in that locker room up here in Detroit. And I'm very much in the same boat that look, this is an important pick for the Lions, even though the approval rating of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell is much higher than maybe it is of Trent Baalke in Jacksonville. But it's something when you're picking that high, you just, especially when you're this early in the rebuild and at a critical stage, you can't afford to mess that up. And I think you're 100% right about maybe this draft not having those really elite players. And that's why it's such a big mystery, because if it's not Hutchinson, I could see it being Trayvon Walker for the Lions. He's maybe not the same edge rusher, but he's a very good, he can play it down the line, sort of all over there. Another guy that, the feedback I've got on him is really loves, football. He's from the country, right? He's like, he's not into like all the superfluous stuff. Like he just wants to go out and play ball. I heard a story when he was at the combine where he didn't even want to do the, like the NFL Network, stuff where they go, pose for the camera and bite on the chain. And he just wanted to go play football. He didn't need anything to do with that, where all these other defensive linemen or all the other guys, they're into that, right? They love the brand stuff. And so maybe Walker is a fit for the Lions too, even though people don't know that personality, and for that matter, for Jacksonville too. But for me, with Hutchinson gone in Detroit, I'm thinking it's Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson, still one of those pass rushers. Wouldn't totally rule out, a Sauce Gardner or somebody at another spot, but I think it's best defensive player left on the board. And that's probably Kayvon Thibodeau. But the question with Detroit is sort of the same thing you were talking about with Jacksonville's culture, is how does he, is he the right culture fit as they sort of spin this thing forward? That's some of the debate, I guess, going on in Detroit, or the conjecture, I guess, is to say, about what the pick is going to be here.
And one more thing, Dave. I mean, that's that word which you just said, culture fit. We've been hearing that a lot over the last 2 weeks here in Jacksonville with this off-season program, and also some of the guys that they selected in free agency. Particularly Sheriff, the right guard that they got from Washington. That the first thing that they said was, "Well, he's a culture fit. I mean, he's a culture builder."
That's what they said about DJ Chark up here. I mean, it is. Look, it's funny how, and it's probably across the board with all 32 teams, but especially the bad teams, right, that are trying to build like culture, and especially when you come off something, what you've seen in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer last year, and what we saw in Detroit with Matt Patricia. Before that, it was like when things go bad, you're looking for the opposite. And so that's why culture has been stressed so much here in Detroit, and same thing it sounds like in Jacksonville too. Let me ask you one other thing on the offensive lineman, because obviously Cam, the franchise, there's hope that he can get a deal done. How do they feel about the right tackle spot, and even, Walker Little, I guess, who they drafted last year and played a little bit in a backup role, I guess.
Well, believe it or not, Trent Baalke has a lot of confidence in Jawan Taylor. I don't see that. I don't understand where that confidence comes from, because he's had, I just put it lightly, he's had a rough go at it for the last 2 seasons, Yeah. And what the plan is right now is that they're gonna look like they're gonna move Walker Little from left to right and have a competition battle at that spot between these two. I mean, between Walker Little and Jawan Taylor. But I don't know.
If you were to put just go by position here, pass rusher versus offensive line, I mean, what's the chances you think it's a pass rusher? It's Hutchinson or I keep saying Walker, Kayvon Walker. It's Trayvon. I'm getting my pass rushers confused here, mixing them up in my head as I'm talking. What do you think the chances are that it's a defensive lineman versus an offensive tackle for Jacksonville there?
Well, I personal opinion, I think the greatest need might be the offensive line. When you look at what they've lost, I mean, they've lost the starting left guard and Andrew Noel.
Yeah.
They starting center, Brandon Linder, retired. And you got a hole right now at that left guard spot. So you're going to have to draft a lineman in the draft. I mean, if you can get a starter to come in at in a mid-round draft pick, then I think you're going to look for that, and you might look to get a center to go with Tyler Shadley. But I think, if I was a GM of the Jaguars, to me, it wouldn't even be a question. I would draft Evan Neal. I would draft them, because I think you're looking at a starter that's going to be, you don't have to worry about Trevor Lawrence blindside for the next 8 to 10 years. You can't project it, but at least in his second contract, you don't have to worry about that position.
Yeah.
And I think it would be an upgrade to what you have. I mean, in the Jaguar eyes, Cam Robinson is a good player to them, but if you compare him to other left tackles in the league, he's not in that upper echelon or the top tier tackle.
Yeah.
And then you look at this Evan Neal. I mean, physically, he's got the foot. I mean, he's got foot technique. He's versatile. He can play 3 different positions on the line. And I look at the value of a number 1 pick, but beyond the generational talent, I look at how much is his value going to be over the long term, not so much the short term. Is he a perennial All-Pro for the next 6 years or 7 years? And I think this kid is just, I don't think there's a question that he's probably the top, the top guard, the top tackle in this draft. And I think he can be an all-pro for many years. I think he's just that good. And for this team, for the Jaguar franchise, they have to get more players like that. They have to get players where me and you not debating whether or not they're good enough or deserve to be at the top. And they just ain't no question. Yeah, he's the best at his position. And this team don't have enough of that. And I agree. I agree with Doug Peterson when he's talking about, a team that has struggled with 4 wins over the last 2 years. You have to bring more competition at the positions. And I think that's one of the problems that they've had at the right tackle position. Jawan Taylor's played every snap since he's been drafted here. And I don't think it's deserving. I just think out of need, he don't have to look over his shoulder because there's no one behind him that pushes him. And I think that's a problem with this franchise, that you got too much complacency and not enough competition. And I think you have a head coach who's been through that. And I think I commend him for looking for talent at these positions to have more competition that creates better players. So, but if I was the GM, I would pick Evan Neal.
That's something to think about. And I think, all the draft fans out there, and particularly everyone that's trying to figure out what happens at the top of the draft, that's an interesting thought. Because I know you think, that the Jaguars will take a defensive lineman right now, but the offensive line certainly sounds like it's in the mix, even though a lot of people have maybe started to write that off and just sort of penciled Hutchinson in. So, and I think if that happens, it's good news for the Lions, who, again, I think Hutchinson is the best fit for them. I don't know that it's a slam dunk that they take him if he's there at 2, because I do think they, there's merit to drafting Kayvon Thibodeau for them. Trayvon Walker again is another guy, even though there's the culture talk with him and Dan Campbell and how he'd fit. He's a guy that I do think the Lions, could be in the mix for them at the end of the day. The Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson. I think there's some good edge rushers at the top of the draft, but Hutchinson would be something that really would check off a lot of the boxes for the Lions if he made it to number 2. So
I just wanted to ask you, do you think the Lions would even consider trading up to that 1 spot and giving the Jaguars that last pick in the first round?
I don't. No, it's a fair question, because it's been talked about up here, and I've even mentioned it in something I've written before that I'm sure the Lions have, how it is this time of year, right? That discussions go on between all 32 teams, and just like hey, what does it take to do something, right? Like, I don't know how serious any of this stuff goes, and I don't know that the Lions and Jaguars have done that, but I would, wouldn't shock me if they had. I just don't think where the Lions are right now in their rebuild. Well, I think there's 2 things at play. Number one, they need as much talent as they can get, sort of like Jacksonville, right? So to have 32 and 34, like, that's a really important thing for them right now. And I don't know that the difference between Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau is worth giving up, that potential defensive starter that you're going to get at 32, a linebacker that's going to come in and play right away for you if you're a Lions team that needs some help on all levels of defense. So I really am suspect that they would do anything to shortchange themselves. The other thing is that, look, the Lions still need a quarterback. And I've been, I don't think they take 1 at 2, right? I don't even know if either of these quarterbacks, Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett, go, in the top of the draft. But the Lions are in such need of a quarterback that what if these guys fall, right? Like, what if Malik Willis is there at 17 and then the Lions have 32 and 34? Could they package those 2 to go up and get a guy that they worked with at the Senior Bowl, that they really liked at the Senior Bowl? So you have this quarterback that you're gonna spend all year developing anyways, and plus you already got that pass rusher at 2. So I think it's highly unlikely that the Lions would give up anything of real value, especially in the draft, to go up and get them. I think the work that they've done on the quarterbacks and the needs that they have, throughout their team, really for playmakers, just leads me to believe that maybe there's something else at play there that they have, in the back of their head, thinking that they can do at 32.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably bad news for Jaguars fans, but
Yeah.
because they Lions are in the same boat where they're hoping they can trade down and get something and not have to maybe make that pick at 2, because I do believe that in this draft, right, the guy that you're going to get at 7 is very similar to the guy you're going to get at 2. And so if you can pick up, another, let's just say top, 45 pick and, something else, like, hey, it's worth it to go down and move down, a few spots and still get a guy that you really like.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a lot of fans in Jacksonville Thursday night with rabbit's foots and Lucky Charms and
hoping they're right. Hey, I like the quarterback they got. So, if Trevor, has a strong second season with a better, situation around him from coach on down, maybe there'll be some, maybe Jacksonville fans will be happy. Lions are still looking for that quarterback themselves, but I like the direction that their franchise is going as well. So let's leave it there. No, this was a good talk. I appreciate it. Hope all the draft fans out there appreciate it as we try to figure out a little bit of what's going on at the top of the draft this year. It's such a mysterious year with the lack of certainty at the top. But he's John Reid, Florida Times Union, Jacksonville.com. I'm Dave Birkett, Detroit Free Press and Freep.com, and we appreciate you guys. Everyone out there joining us here on the USA Today Network websites.